This isn't sometimes, this is always. This isn't maybe, this is always.
I met up with Jill and Danny at Sedona Sweethearts. That's who they ended up using for their cake on their wedding day. And when we met, they ended up telling me that they're getting married on 10-10-10. Woohoo! The busiest day of the year. So I was pretty excited actually to get our first actual destination wedding, since the whole point of Get Wed In The Red is to do the reality of planning a destination wedding. When I met with Jill and Danny, they were going to come back to Sedona for their pre-interview. Well, as we all know, times have been a little tough money-wise, so they couldn't afford to come back before the actual ceremony. So we ended up having a guy out in Florida do the pre-shooting. Jill and Danny picked Red Rock Crossing for their ceremony, and because they picked the busiest day of the year, they weren't really aware of that, and I kind of warned them, yet they thought if they did an early morning wedding that they would luck out and be okay and wouldn't have a lot of traffic out there. The location that they picked, of course everybody wants the red rocks in the background, but early morning, the way the sun is moving at that time of the year, the rocks were completely washed, meaning that the sun was directly into my camera, and so shooting in that direction, you don't get the real clarity, real clean clarity of the red rocks. But needless to say, it was busy. I'm really glad that they opted to do 2 camera for their ceremony, because 1 camera would never have been a nightmare. But yeah, it was a little chaotic. In the middle of their ceremony, a whole nother ceremony came in and literally walked right in front of my camera. And the whole group just walks right in front of my camera, totally unaware that I'm shooting. I ended up having Bruce, my second camera operator, he ended up going handheld for the whole ceremony, because what they ended up doing is when they came in, I'm glad I talked the officiant, which is someone they brought in from Florida to officiate. They did, it was probably about a 35-minute ceremony, and they had a lot of the elements that were in it. So they did a big ribbon tie around the whole group. So they had about 30 people out there, and then she had the whole group fill in around Jill and Danny, and I was totally, with my back camera, totally blocked. I couldn't see hardly anything. And if I didn't have Bruce going handheld, we would have missed all that. And he did a great job, because it is not easy keeping it steady for 35 minutes. It was a Celtic type ceremony, and they wanted, of course, being in the Southwest, they wanted a native approach, so they wanted a shaman to come in and bless their ceremony. Well, halfway through the ceremony, the shaman still had not arrived. Surprise. So then he comes running in the middle of the ceremony, and he was there, so he was able to do that part of it. But yeah, it was incredibly challenging.
Two are joined as one. I am in love with you.
Jill and Danny did not hire a professional photographer.
On 3, please. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We're gonna do a second one. Ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
So I'm not really sure what else to say about that, except, you know, these are tangible things, you know, for the rest of your life, and I think it's of huge value to hire professionals. They ended up hiring a company to take their entire group on a tour. So they basically, and there were some elderly people, so they did something simple, but they all went on like a 3-hour tour and went all around Sedona, and then ended up back at the Barking Frog. And Oman Ken continued and played music at the Barking Frog. It wasn't as traditional, meaning that they didn't do any dances. So it was more kind of a laid-back food, drinks, and some nice music, and the cutting of the cake. My thing is it's just really, it's not that difficult as long as you communicate. And you know, you can have a fabulous Sedona destination wedding. Just pick up the phone, communicate, and check out your vendors, and you'll be thrilled. It'll be a good day.
Oh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. It's hard to get by just upon a smile.